My lords, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the Ice Sheet with Nitraro as we continue the Rimworld Ice Sheet Extreme Survival Challenge with a solo who was originally naked colonist in the tribal technological era in one of the hardest and harshest biomes on the Rimworld, and we're going to see how far we can survive and how far we can take it. Now you may notice things have changed since the last episode. I continued just for about 5 or 10 minutes, and what I did is I dug out a little mountainside bedroom for Nitraro. Now that we have cold protection down to negative 101 degrees, we can comfortably sleep inside the mountain base and don't have to rely on the geyser to keep us protected from hypothermia. Our own clothes now do that for us. And I've also expanded down here just a little as well. Now during all that, you may notice here we have this pen needed notification on the right hand side, and that's because we had an event where a few devil sheep, ewes and rams all self-tamed. As we can see, we have 5 of them here. We don't have any way to feed them, obviously, just there's no grazable lands for them out here unless they want to try and eat snow and ice. So we're going to have to deal with those, and the best way we can deal with those, and it's also going to help us as well, is to actually just slaughter them all. So we'll queue up in order to slaughter all of these sheep now, and then Nitraro will head out and take care of that. As we can see, he's doing it now that we've reset his priorities. Now in terms of video uploads and releases, my current plan is, and I am open to suggestions on changing this depending on the feedback, but I think I'm going to go for a 2-to-1 ratio. So for every 2 Transport Fever 2 videos that get released and uploaded, there'll be 1 Rimworld. So I've just done 2 Transport Fever 2 videos recently, so turning back to Rimworld now. As I said at the start of this series, that's just to break it up a little bit and prevent getting burnout from focusing on just the one game too much, because that would be detrimental to the Transport Fever 2 series, and obviously we want to avoid that as much as we can. So for now we shall just let Nitraro go ahead and slaughter all of these poor sheep who decided to wander in and join the colony. Obviously we have no use for them as farm animals, so we may as well make use of them for their meat and their wool. So now that they are all slaughtered, what we will do is, looking at our storage space here, it's a little bit crowded, so we are going to want to expand this out a little further. So we'll get a mining order queued up to expand it as much as we can, obviously without exposing it to the outside elements, because then it would lose the indoor protection and the things would start to deteriorate over time. So just this little expansion here should be enough to free up some extra space for us for when we start butchering those sheep that we just had to slaughter. Okay, so as we start this mining order on the next day, we can see we've now tipped over to a level 8 mining, which is great, and we have the quest available, Royal Ascent. Now this is a ticket off of the Rimworld. However, to do that you have to house the High Stellarch of the Empire of God for a number of days, as it says there, 12 days. Keep his needs satisfied, which is no easy task in itself. And you also have to fend off a lot of aggressive raids. If you manage to achieve all that, then you will be granted passage off of the Rimworld. However, we can't even accept this because we need the title of Count or Countess, and we need a free bedroom that satisfies the requirements of Stellarch Cosserarius. We meet neither of those requirements, so well, we'll keep it in mind. It's not something we're going to be able to achieve and handle anytime soon. The raids alone will be far too much for us to handle just by ourselves with no defences, aside from obviously our rudimentary trapped corridor accessing our base. Likely the way off this Rimworld for ourselves is going to be our own spaceship that we can build a little bit later on once we start researching the technology, but that's going to take a fair while yet. I would like to try and get some research started in this episode if I can. But first I'd like to sort out obviously this storage space. We need to get all these marble chunks hauled away to free up more space, and they can be dumped over here. We want to get a stone cutting station set up as well, so we can turn these useless marble chunks into workable bricks, which we can use for construction and decoration. And I'd also like to get a research bench produced as well, so we can start research. Now I'm going to hamstring myself when it comes to the research, and I'll explain more on that later when we get the research bench up and running. For now, Netraro's just going to butcher the sheep that we had to unfortunately kill because we couldn't afford to feed them even if we wanted to. And I think at this point I will queue up the production, if we have the resources, of a simple research bench. If we make it of steel, we have enough for that. 100 steel is what we would require. We do have that in stock, so that's no problem. So we'll go ahead and tell him to build that just there. We are going to want a piece of furniture to sit down on when we're researching, so we'll just go for a stool, and we'll just stick to a steel stool. We do have a small amount of wood, however that's at the moment a non-renewable resource out here, and I'd rather save that for something else. Okay, so that's our research bench. I'm just going to pause it here and take a moment to discuss how I'm going to hamstring myself with this. Now, if we go into the research tab down here, we can see there's a lot of research to get done. Obviously, a lot of this is added by the various mods that are installed. However, the one I want to focus on here is this icon in the top left. This is our rules screen for our research levels. So you have two rules, Rule A or Rule B. Rule A, if the player researched all techs of tech level X and below, then the tech level will become X plus whatever number you have here. Obviously default is 1. The other rule is if the player has researched more than 50% of the techs of tech level Y, then the tech level rises to Y plus whatever. So you have two options. This one is a little bit easier by my understanding, because if you, like it says here, if you research 50% of, say, the Stone Age texts, then you would rise to the next stage. And that's what we're going to go with. We're going to set that to Y plus 1 and that to X plus 0. This will activate Rule B. And here we can set the slider for this 50% threshold. So at the minute, as I said, if you discover half of the techs of one tech level, then you got advanced to the next era, so to speak. However, I'm going to increase this, and I'm going to set it to 80%. So once we get 80% of the research done, that's when we'll advance to the next level. Now the main hamstring is in this next screen here, project settings. Make research projects X times more expensive if they are more advanced than your faction. Okay, so if we just open up this screen here, for example, if we wanted to research electricity straight away, we can do it. It is open to us. It would cost us 3,200 research points. However, when we enable this option, it jumps to 128,000. Obviously, we can adjust the multiplier here, and I'm going to keep it at times 10. That isolates the techs that are above our level because they're just not efficient to research yet. However, what we can also do is this one here, apply a discount of X to the power N for techs that are below your tech level. So, for example, if we advance to the next era, then the techs that were in the era we had just advanced from would have a discount of 20%. I'm going to set that to 50%. Overall, I think it's a lot harder with this because you can't just beeline electricity and then heating and what have you to make life a lot more comfortable. So we are going to have to focus on the more non-essential, shall we say, researchers such as beer brewing, Devil Strand and others. And that just drags it out that little bit more and makes it, I think, a little bit more realistic as well. So we haven't started a research project yet. Now, we have no choice but as to go for the Neolithic techs, such as food condiments. You can identify the ones easily because they have a fairly low research requirement. And I think the one we'll start with is basic furniture. Only costs us 300 points, and it unlocks bench, guest, simple bed, and tables. So we'll highlight that as our research for now. Right, unfortunately, we've just given ourselves food poisoning from eating the raw sheep meat, which is not ideal, but also it's not life-threatening, but it does make things a lot more frustrating to deal with while we're going through this healing process. As we can see at the moment, we can't walk more than 10 or so paces without vomiting everywhere, which slows everything down. Also, our hunger rate is depleting a lot more than it was previously, and we eat and work a lot slower, which is obviously the frustrating and annoying thing with food poisoning. Thankfully, as I said, it isn't life-threatening, however, so we're just going to have to deal with the slowdown and the frustration for the next couple of days. It usually lasts about 24 to 48 in-game hours. Okay, so with all the chunks now hauled out, Nitro will take a few moments just to clean up all of his vomit before heading to the research bench. Obviously, these sheep carcasses are still out on the map, however, they will not deteriorate, or at least they won't rot. They will deteriorate, as we can see, but we have time. We don't have to haul them back straight away. They will last for at least a couple of days out there before they disappear entirely, so that's not an overriding concern at the moment. And I think what we'll do is we'll wait until this food poisoning is abated, because the slow walk time plus the constant stopping to vomit will just be too frustrating to deal with and watch. So we'll let him get healed up and focus on his other needs, and then we'll get those sheep hauled back to our little mountain base. In the meantime, we've had some shoes and some leg wrappings drop onto the ice sheet. Not sure if these will be superior to what we have equipped already, but we will flag them to be hauled urgently. How far away are they? Well, they are a fair distance, so the whole hauling process while dealing with food poisoning might be a bit frustrating, but we'll see how we get on. Okay, you can see here now the food poisoning has dropped to minor, so the health effects aren't as severe as they once were. However, the vomiting does still persist, unfortunately. Okay, and we are finally healed of our food poisoning, which is great. We've managed to get one of the sheep back into our stockpile. There's still 3 more to go. We'll try and get them all hauled back tomorrow. That way they're on hand when we need to increase our meat supplies. For now, we'll set them to disallow, just so we don't butcher them for the sake of it. We have plenty of meat to keep us going, and we don't particularly need the furs that they drop at the moment either. So we'll haul them back, but as I said, yes, we're not going to worry about getting them butchered up ASAP. We do have plenty of other supplies on hand, and we'll just use these as a backup when our stocks start to run a little bit lower. Alright, so Nitro is now on his way to haul back the last sheep, and that will be all of them in our stockpile, safe, ready for us in the future. At this point, once he returns, we'll expand the base just a little bit further, and we'll drop in a stone cutting bench. That way we could start turning some of this useless marble chunks into workable stone bricks. As we can see here, our steel supplies have dropped quite low, so I have prioritised and queued up some steel mining to be done at the vein just to the north of the base. So after a good night's sleep and a filling breakfast, we shall focus on getting that steel mined out to top up our reserves. We need enough to put in a door here and a door here, and this little chamber here will serve as the stone cutting room. That way we have easy access outside to grab the next stone chunk to be worked. Saves having to walk all the way out of the base and around, makes that a little bit more efficient. Okay, so that's the 2 doors now installed to isolate this room from the rest of the base and to isolate it from the outside as well. So once this room has been fully excavated, we'll go ahead and top up our reserves to make sure we have enough resources to be able to construct the stone cutting bench. We'll get that placed down in here, and then we can start work on turning some of these marble chunks into workable marble bricks. We could use them for walls if we wanted to. They are a lot more beautiful than the ugly, rough-hewn marble walls that we have at the moment, although we can smooth those out, although that does take a fair while to do. Okay, so we're now on to the next day. We've finished mining out the little steel vein up to the north, and we've transported it all back to our stockpile. That's increased our stocks to 235. We have the room cleared out, and we've started to do a little bit of research. Now, as I said, I'd like to get a stonecutter's table installed, and if we made one out of pure steel, that would cost us 105 steel, which is why we needed to do that little mining order just to the north. So that's where we're going to have our stonecutter's bench. Obviously we want a stool so Nitraro can be at least somewhat comfortable while he works. Okay, unfortunately he botched his first attempt at the construction, which has wasted some of the resources. Hopefully that won't happen again. Indeed not. We now have a stonecutter's bench, so we can set up a build to make stone blocks, and we'll focus on the marble blocks. And we'll set this to do forever, and what we'll also do is just change the ingredient radius here. So rather than travelling halfway across the map to pick up a new stone chunk to be worked, we're only going to use this stockpile that's just outside the door. Now I think it's also time to start expanding this little area out a little bit further. It's a little bit cramped at the moment, so let's go ahead and queue up a mining order for that, and we'll just take it down to about there just to extend it downwards a little bit, and we'll prioritise mining this little chunk because that's opened up. Well, that's brilliant. What a thing to find in the mountain, an excellent steel dresser. So what we're going to do, we're going to claim that straight away, obviously, and we want that installing in our bedroom. That will increase our sleep quality and our comfort rating when we're asleep, which is going to boost our mood significantly. As we can see now, we now have a comfort rating of 0.7 because of the 0.05 added by the steel dresser. This also increases the room beautification level as well because it's an excellent quality, and it has a bit of erotic style artwork carved into it with a cauliflower. The mind does indeed boggle what's been carved onto that dresser, but hopefully Nitraro will enjoy it and it'll boost his mood while he's in his bedroom, so he should start his days in high spirits, which is obviously very important. At the moment his mood does tend to hover about 2/3 full, which is good, which means it's not really a cause for concern at the moment, but the more we can do to help him out, obviously the better it is for everybody. And we'll take that little wooden wall there as well, just for a little bit extra to work with. We'll get everything hauled into its appropriate place ASAP. Okay, we have just had a shuttle crash. Let's see what we have here. Oh, we have, that is a beautiful little bounty, considering that we are a cannibal. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 corpses. We're actually just going to top up our human meat stores quite nicely. And we have 1 survivor. Let's take a look at this. This is Gerasim Pratt. They are greedy, which could be a problem because he will get a mood debuff if his bedroom isn't quite up to scratch compared to his peers. And in terms of his skills, social will be good for trading, but the caravans out here are few and far between. Other than that, there's not really much there that's calling out to me as something we're desperately in need of. Now, obviously, having an extra pair of hands around the base is always going to be a good thing. However, given that at the moment we are pretty heavily reliant on human meat, or can be reliant on human meat, he's not going to take too kindly to us butchering and consuming human meat, unfortunately. Let's just check his ideology here. Yes, cannibalism is horrible, so unfortunately, Mr. Pratt, I don't think we're going to be busting a gut to save you at this point. However, your friends here, we will haul them back to our stockpile as soon as we wake up in the morning. And hopefully by then, I imagine you will have bled out and died, so you shall be joining them in our larder. In terms of his gear, there's nothing special that we need to prioritise stripping him of before he passes away. At the moment, I do believe our gear is either superior, or at least it's better in terms of cold protection, so you can keep what you have. We're not interested in it. We'll just sell it on to the next trade caravan that happens to pop by. So I imagine Nitraro's day-to-day is going to be spent primarily hauling in and around the base, especially because we've got those 4, soon to be 5 bodies nearby that we want to bring back so they don't deteriorate outdoors. There we go. Pratt has now succumbed to his wounds and or hypothermia, so we'll haul him as well. Now I've just noticed there are a few beds here. One is of good quality, which has a comfort rating of 0.84. So that on its own is superior to our own bed, so it might be worth grabbing that bed for ourselves as well and swapping out for our poor quality steel bed. So that 0.84 combined with the 0.05 added by the steel dresser will get us to almost 0.9 comfort rating, which is going to give us a nice mood boost while we're in our bed. And as I said, that means when we wake up in the mornings, we're still going to have that lasting positive mood effect, which is going to serve us very well. So once we've got all these corpses and these little items that also dropped with the bodies hauled back to our base, we'll focus on getting that bed brought back as well. Now there is a room here which we might want to explore. I don't think it's an ancient danger, but once Nitraro does get close to it, we'll find out, because we'll have the alert down here if indeed it is an ancient danger. And if it is, obviously we will avoid it for the time being. If not, we'll open that door and have a look what's inside. There might be some more goodies that we can make use of. Ideally, some sort of end table would be great. We have a steel dresser already, and if we had an end table to go next to the bed as well, that would further improve the comfort rating of the bed, which is obviously further going to improve our mood as we're struggling to survive. In fact, while we're here, we will go ahead and check this out. Okay, so it didn't actually lead anywhere, just to a block of granite. I don't believe there's anything behind the wall. No, there's not. So we will return to the corpse hauling and we'll come back for the bed in future. I was hoping there could be another room behind this. Clearly there isn't. I imagine there would have been at one point and it's just been caved in over time. So in terms of extra goodies, there's nothing yet. There could be something in here which we'll check out as well. And I've just noticed this steel bed is of excellent quality, so rather than get the good quality bed, we may as well go straight for the excellent. And we'll do that tomorrow, as Nitraro is now taking himself off to bed, which is absolutely fine, as it is 6 in the morning. He has been working all night hauling. Okay, a stalking Arctic lion. That is something we really didn't want. Can we see it on the map anywhere? Not yet. However, they are quite dangerous. They are quite strong. And they're also bloody difficult to spot. I believe... Oh, was that it there? Yes. It's invisible. It's camouflaged. And it's also Manhunter. So we're going to have to lock the doors to our base. Don't give Nitraro a means to go outside. Although saying that, our traps could end up dealing with this lion. Let's see. Okay, so unfortunately it's not venturing past our trapped corridor at this point. We can see the shadow there just running around this little open area. So what we might want to do is actually try and encourage it to make its way through our trapped corridor. Okay, so it took the bait. It's triggered one trap and is already bleeding out, so I do think it's gonna... There we go. It didn't last very long. It took 3 traps to take it out. We'll prioritise finishing it off. And we'll haul it back to our base ASAP, and that's another meal in future should we need it. I believe we will at some point, obviously. But what with the sheep carcasses and the human corpses that we're still yet to haul back, I think we're good on the food front for the time being. We will need to repair these steel traps at some point. We don't have enough steel in reserve to do that at the moment, so we are going to have to do some mining. And I think we'll aim for this large compacted steel vein here. And a little trick, if you didn't know, if you highlight one of the blocks in the vein and then press the equals key, it will queue up the entire vein, no matter how big it is or how much you can see, to be mined out. As we can see, this is a fairly sizable steel vein here. It's not too far from our base, and it will be easily accessible through our little access points through our corridor here. So that's quite ideal. Okay, so we've now hauled back the last corpse that came down with the crashed shuttle. What we're going to do now is get this excellent quality steel bed into our base so we can use it for our own purposes. And we'll keep the other bed on hand for any future colonists that arrive, but we will uninstall it and just keep it stored in the stockpile room for the time being. We'll set this as Nitraro's bed, and as I said, this one can be uninstalled and dropped into the stockpile zone. Okay, we've had another transport crash. However, they are suffering from paralytic abasia, which means they're unable to move for several weeks. We will accept the quest. After all, they could be quite useful as a colonist. Let's see when they land. Okay, so this is Sabrina Mousy Janaki. Let's have a look at her biography here. She's trigger happy and jealous. She has strong passions for mining, animals, and medical, which could be useful. She's also a pretty decent researcher as well. She isn't a cannibal or a psychopath. Let's just check her ideology. She does consider cannibalism acceptable, however, and she does always respect torture, so I think she might do quite well. So I believe we will take her on if we can keep her alive. Let's have a look at her gear. She's only comfortable down to -7. Now that could be a problem, because our base is at -48, so she'll become hypothermic, and there's no way that we can equip her with better gear. Like, we can't tell Nitraro to equip her with, for example, the Panthera Fur Parka, which would increase her cold survivability. However, it does mean we can name our colony, as we can see. So our faction, we shall be that, the Mjolnir Confederacy, and our settlement shall be the Black Boulder. Why not? Okay, so even though I did want to try and save Mousy, as she could have been quite useful, especially the medical and intelligence skill, as I said, unfortunately, I don't think she's going to survive the cold temperatures. She's already hypothermic, and for her to survive, we'd have to throw up another shelter around this steam geyser here, which we just wouldn't have time to do, I don't think, before she sadly succumbs. So while it would have been nice to save her and have a second colonist on hand, she is gonna unfortunately perish on the ice sheet. Obviously that's not the end for her resourcefulness, as we know. Nitraro may make use of her in other ways, i.e. he'll probably end up eating her. As we can see, the hypothermia is about to claim her life. And there we go. She has sadly passed away. I don't think there's much we could have done about that anyway. So while it was a shame, we'll just have to make use of her in other ways, I think. Let's see what's this done for Nitraro's mood. Well, he's got a little mood boost, actually, because for some reason she was classed as his rival, even though they never actually spoke to one another. So at least some good has come from her death. Obviously, the other long-term lasting benefit is going to be the increased food supplies that she provides. So we'll get her corpse hauled back to our base ASAP. And I think in the next day, if we can, we'll explore some of these abandoned buildings nearby. We have one there and one down here, and see if they have any decent lootable goodies that we can make use of in our own mountain base. Obviously, we've already found this very comfortable bed, which is going to make Nitraro's mood a lot happier while he's sleeping. So if he has a rough day, then heading back to bed is just going to make him feel a lot better. So Nitraro's now hauled Mousy back to our base. We don't need to butcher these human corpses straight away. As we can see, we have a lot of food on hand ready to go. We also have 4 sheep carcasses. We have the Arctic lion carcass, and we obviously have the 6 human carcasses as well. They're not critical right now, so we'll set them to disallowed, and we'll uncheck them as and when we need them, which shouldn't be for at least a couple of days yet, depending on what else happens out here on the ice sheet. Obviously another bout of food poisoning, and we may have to start tapping into these new reserves a little sooner than expected. Okay, so with everything hauled back and nothing else really to do apart from obviously the steel mining out here, I think we will go ahead and take a look inside these buildings now. As I said, I don't think these are ancient dangers, so we can safely deconstruct them without releasing a horde of insects or mechanoids. What do we have in here? We have 2 steel file cabinets. We have an end table, awful quality, but it's better than nothing. A limestone dresser. There's a dead one of them. I'm just going to call it a penguin. There's also a comms console. We have a heater, cloth armchair, multi-analyzer, and a limestone double bed. So we have quite a lot of stuff in here that we can make use of. Unfortunately, we can't reinstall some of this stuff. We can reinstall the heater, but obviously that's of dubious use at the moment as we don't have any power. We can reinstall the file cabinets and the armchair. We can take the multi-analyzer. We can't take the comms console. And we can take the steel end table. Everything else we'll leave for the time being. We'll probably make use of it when we get future colonists. So we'll reinstall this end table and we'll put it next to our new bed. Like so. The cloth armchair we shall put at the research bench, so we have that boosting comfort while we're researching. And the steel file cabinet we'll also put next to or near to our research station as well, as it provides a boost to research speed. Everything else we'll leave it over there for the time being. Oh, we will also haul the dead penguin, as it's an extra food source should we need it. So we'll prioritise hauling all this stuff back to... In fact, no. Yes, we will prioritise hauling all this stuff back to our base. And then we can go down and investigate this structure down here. Hopefully these have some goodies for us as well. So with the end table, the armchair and the filing cabinet brought back down, that's going to make life that little bit easier. It's going to make things a lot better when we're researching, as we're going to be a lot more comfortable sat in a decent quality armchair. So we're going to have a mood boost from that. We're going to have a boost in our research speed from the filing cabinet. And obviously we also have the penguin to keep us fed for an extra few days as well, which is obviously always a good thing to have. So after a good night's sleep in our new bed, which is boosted by the steel end table that we hauled back yesterday, and a decent breakfast, I think it's time to get Nitraro down to the second set of ruins just to the south, and we'll have a look what's inside of those. As I said, hopefully some more things that we can make use of in there. So there's nothing really in there that we want to worry about hauling back. The wood from the walls might come in handy later on. What do we have here? We have some steel and a decent stack of wood there, which we want to haul back before it deteriorates. And behind these doors we have a whole load of nothing. Let's just check behind the second door. Again, not a lot. But as I said, the wood from the wooden walls might come in handy, as will the steel, so we'll take those. But we want to prioritise hauling the wood, because that will deteriorate out here when it's unprotected. And that will increase our wood stocks to almost 200, or just over 200, or indeed exactly 200. As we can see, we're quite keen on repairing this comms console. I was toying with the idea of just deconstructing it, but whatever, we'll let him repair it, and also we will repair the heater as well. Yes, we can't reinstall it, but if we can run power out there, once we get our own power grid set up, we may as well make use of the comms console. It saves building one ourselves after all. We'll take the multi-analyzer to the base. Obviously we can't do much with it at the moment, so we'll leave it where it is for the time being, but as soon as we can supply it with a decent amount of power, we'll take it to our research bench, because it will provide us a boost to our research speed. In the meantime, we've had a snow hare or two wander onto the map. However, I'm going to let them be. We have plenty of meat available for us, and we have plenty of corpses to keep us going once our meat supplies do deteriorate. Okay, so we've got a rather large trade caravan that's just entered the map. We'll have a word with these once they get close and see if there's anything we can trade or not, as they have decided to leave because of the cold temperatures, which is understandable. It is very cold out here, and if you're not equipped for it, then you're not going to last long. So Nitraro can resume his mining duties. In the meantime, a local snow hare has gone mad. However, I don't think we need to concern ourselves with the snow hare. I do believe our traps will take care of that for us. We have another quest available, Forced Weather for Pay. We can have a foggy sandstorm of all weathers out here on the ice sheet for 20 days. In exchange, we can choose one of 3 rewards: Tornado Generator and 53 gold, an Eltex Robe and 86 jade, or 2 advanced components and 19 goodwill. I'll be honest, not many of those are really appealing to me, so we'll overlook that quest. As we can see, as they were leaving the map, 2 of the members of the trade caravan have dropped, Rubber and Danger. Not interested in saving either of those, not that we had a chance to save Rubber anyway, she's already perished. Danger, again, nothing in his bio that stands out for me, and I don't like the whole pyromaniac thing that he's got going on either. I do like the look of the pistol that he has. In terms of Rubber's gear, what did she have? Nothing, so she did not have any weapons that we can take. But we will take that pistol as soon as he drops it. Oh, and he also dropped us a few meals as well. They're obviously going to come in handy out here. Anything to prolong our meat supplies is obviously well worth taking along. We'll get those hauled back as a matter of urgency. Okay, so with the 2 trade caravan bodies hauled back as well, I do think this is a decent place to end the episode. We've got food for days now, and that's without even tapping into our corpse supply that we managed to top up in this episode. We've done a little bit of expansion to our base, but we've managed to kit out our base with some much better equipment, including an excellent quality bed, an excellent quality steel dresser, and a sadly awful quality steel end table. However, that doesn't affect its comfort rating. So once Nitraro is asleep, his mood is going to be a lot better and he's going to be a lot more comfortable thanks to all of that. We obviously picked up the steel filing cabinet as well, which is increasing our research speed by 5%. We have the cloth armchair, which is going to make him comfortable while he is sat at the research table. And we have the stone cutting bench as well, which we've not made use of yet, but we might start making use of it in the near future, because we could put down some marble tile flooring, for example, which is going to increase the beauty rating of all our rooms, which is obviously going to increase our colony's mood while he's in them. So yes, as I said, I think this is a decent place to end the episode. We will return back to Transport Fever 2. Oh, talk about timing. We have a raid just as we're about to end the day. So we'll deal with this raid first of all. Not that it's going to take much direct involvement from ourselves, I don't think. I do think our defences will handle it. So we'll let our defences do their job, and once that's done, yes, we'll end the episode, I think. So Nitraro heads off to bed while our attackers prepare for their assault. And if we take a moment here, we'll be able to see. Okay, so it seems that we are not getting a mood boost from being very comfortable. That's quite disappointing. I thought we would have done. You usually do. You usually get extremely comfortable and about a plus 10 mood boost from that. So I'm not sure why we're not benefiting from that here. But never mind, we're happy enough. As we can hear there, our attacker has gone down. They've dropped 4 cigars, a steel light club and some herbal medicine, all of which will come in handy, as well as the corpse as well. So we'll take care of all that in the next episode. For the time being, all that remains for me to say is I hope that you enjoyed the episode. As I made mention of earlier on, we're going to return to Transport Fever 2 next time, but this series will continue alongside, as I said, in a sort of 2-to-1 upload ratio, I think. So for the time being, all that remains for me to say is, as always, ladies and gentlemen, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.